Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to round number 6 here at Misano for the Grid Championship, brought to you by Mettlestate and RaceFace. My name is Stephen Koenig, and joining me in the box once again this evening, the one, the only, the world's slowest alien, Yellowman Price. Yellowman, how are you doing this evening?
Hello. Doing well, and you, Stephen? Good evening, everybody. Yes, as you said, we are coming to you live from Misano. And, you know, if last night's sprint race was anything to go by, Stephen, we're going to see some proper racing again tonight.
That's it. And also, we're going to see some real fighting for the end of the championship. Remember that it's quite a prize pool, over 10,000 rand prize pool, and the guys are going to be duking it out for it. Multiple different, we've got our Pro-Am, we've got our gold, our silver, our Am divisions, all going to be duking out. We keeping an eye on the big boys, the fastest of the fast, the cream of the crop, the pro category, as they make their way for qualifying. But Yellowman, you have got currently where everyone's sitting in the championship.
I do, most certainly. Well, leading out the championship at this stage, Cody Sherritt at 214 points. Not that far behind in second place is Morgan McCall on 195. Then, a little bit of a gap back to Ryan Ottens in third place at 165. Daniel Rowe, fourth place at 149. Bernard Barkhuizen close on his heels at 146. Sixth place is Bego Grobler at 127. Seventh place close on his heels is Tristan de Nobrega at 122. Eighth place Jason McGregor at 107. Ninth place Dean Cabasa at 104. And rounding out our top 10, our very own Christian de Ploy at 92 points.
And this is going to be absolutely hair-raising for everyone to go and duke it out right to the end. Considering how far we're in this championship, there is only 8 rounds. So that means you've got to do everything you can to maximize the points. And at the moment, the guys have to try and figure out what's going to be the most beneficial to claw their way to the top. Daniel Rowe has pulled out all the stops. He's been in the Hybrid Academy Invictus team, hoping to go and get another win. But Cody Sherritt has been on an absolute charge, and he's looking to go and dominate in the championship, as we've got the guys coming across the line, starting to set those fastest lap times. Cody Sherritt with a 133.3. Christian Deploy coming in with a 133.5. Daniel Rowe, well, as that changes, Morgan McCall actually going and putting in a quicker time, 133.35, beating out Christian Deploy of 133.51. Daniel Rowe, 133.52. Ryan Ottens down in 5th place with a 133.590. Sujin Pillay, 133.8. And Bego Grobler dropping into the 134.1 at the moment. He's getting chased down by Tristan de Nobrega. And we've got Tein Kube, which has done a, he's gone down into 10th place. And it seems like everything is going and moving up, because this man over here, Kieran Patterson, coming in with a 133.6 to try and top the charts.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, still early days in qualifying. There's still 10 minutes to go, so those times are most certainly going to drop down even further. Now, tonight, the two championship rivals, Cody, Morgan, this stage sitting first and second, but Steve, I think there's a couple of other guys like Daniel Rowe, Ryan Ottens, Kieran Patterson, even Christian Deploy. The list goes on. I think they are going to, you know, it's the business end of the season. They are going to start trying to close that gap down to the front two, the two championship leaders.
Well, Christian doing a 133.1 as the quickest lap time out on the circuit. Cody Sherritt trying to better his lap time as he looks to try and move a little bit more. Daniel Rowe, 0.2 up on his previous lap time at the moment as he makes his way through Sector 1, which is this is our turn 3 and 4. It's a double right-hander, very difficult, and the things that guys are going to be very cautious about around Misano is track limits. This is where it kind of gets a little bit more abusive. We've seen lots of drive-throughs that made or break a previous race. So now, is it going to be a factor come round number 6? where the guys are going to have to really push. What is your thoughts? You were out on the circuit a little bit earlier trying to get to grips with these cars and try and understand what our pro drivers, the fastest of the fast in South Africa, are going to have to deal with.
See, Misano is not the easiest of tracks. There's a couple of, corners, especially that triple right-hander, which forms basically part of the back straight, as everything is flat out through there, and then you need to slow down and get the car turned in before the hairpin, and that's where we've seen a lot of guys running wide through this section currently on track. As we watch that Bego Grobler going through there just before this hairpin, they tend to run wide. And secondly, as Bego goes through there, that corner that he goes through there just before the last corner, another potential place where you can run wide and also pick up a track limit. So I don't know if the guys are going to push this hard in a longer race, and maybe try and stay within the track limits. I'm going to say I doubt it, because knowing these pro drivers, from that green light they're going to just be flat out racing. So Steve, I'm predicting that tonight we're going to see another couple of drive-throughs, guys just pushing a bit too hard, cutting the track just a little bit too much, and picking up that extra pit stop.
I think you're going to be dead right on that one, but we've also got to consider a couple of factors here, where the guys are pushing hard now. They're going to start setting out a lap time to go for either 134, 135 as their consistent lap time, because for anyone that's just joining us and is not sure how this all works, well, we've got 2 mandatory pit stops. That means you have to stop and put at least 1 liter of fuel in your vehicle, and that counts as a pit stop. These guys are going to have to try and better their times. They're going to have to consider when these pit stops happen, because that can make or break your race. Another thing, are you going to change your tires? We've got a little bit of rumors that guys are going to try and use the same pair of tires around the entire race, 1 hour and 20 minutes of craziness. But how's that going to work in the long run? We're about to find out.
Well, knowing these guys, they've done the long runs. A fair amount of them have done the sprint race last night, so they know what the car does over 45 minutes. I'm pretty sure a lot of them have done longer stints in their long run practice to try and find out what the car will do over 1 hour and 20 minutes. And they will have all the data, Steve, and they will, I'm pretty sure all of them will know what the quickest race for them might be. Some might not pit, some might, as we've seen, go halfway before changing tires to get the best of both worlds. 2 fresh-ish sets of tires at the end of the stint that might, help them in the lap time. But having said all of that, we all know that a lot of the time strategy flies out the window as soon as something happens in the race, and you need to, remake a strategy from scratch.
Well, Kieran Pedersen actually putting a 132.9 as his quickest lap time, and just loses the tail end of that McLaren. But still, an incredible lap time, taking the first place away from the ATK driver of Christian de Bloy. And then Bego Grobler currently in 3rd place, trying to push as hard as he can. Daniel Rowe as well, just letting the guys go through. He's warming up his brakes and tires to try and give it a good go. Cody Sherritt down in 5th place. Ryan Ottens in 6th place. 7th place, Morgan McCall, who's trying to catch up to his teammate. Bernard Barkhuizen in 8th place. Sujin Pillay in 9th place in the Ferrari. Nicholas Manuel of the ZA Racing M4 in 10th place. And take a look, Morgan McCall now stealing that first place, 132.96. I mean, it's literally 0.01 quicker than Kieran Patterson, which is nothing at this point. Christian de Bloy also trying to move a little bit quicker. He's currently the fastest through the sector by 0.2 of a second, hoping to also get into that 132s if he can keep it all clean. But he's getting chased down. Bego also trying to improve his lap time. Daniel Rowe getting ready to rock and roll. He is right behind Christian de Bloy, who's making his way through the final corner, getting on the throttle. Is he going to be able to move up? Really pushing hard, and Christian de Bloy taking first place, 132.8. But let's see what our championship rivals can do. as they look to go and duke it out on this circuit. It's going to be an interesting one. And, well, don't take your eyes off the screen, but if you're just joining us, welcome to the Grid Championship. And just taking a look, we are broadcasting over YouTube and Twitch. So if you go to Twitch, look up Mettlestate, go and subscribe, go and hit the follow. You really want to be part of all the action. There's not only racing, there's plenty of gaming as well on the channel. And we got Ting Sealy going and saying exclamation mark hype with a whole bunch of stickers. Glad to have you in the chat, and also to everyone watching online. We've also on YouTube as well under RaceFace.Pro, so a big thank you to everyone going and joining in there. But now with 3 minutes to go, gentlemen, it's all or nothing.
Absolutely, and I mean I'm watching both feeds, and you know I'm looking at a couple of guys, and it's now that crunch time. 3 minutes left of qualifying, and I see, you know, some mistakes being made. Guys pushing a little bit too hard, as we see on screen. But you know, it's a case of if you push too hard, and we've seen it quite a lot of times. A couple of times, the rear end of the car just does not want to lift through it, especially through this section, as we see Kieran Patterson running wide again, picking up a bit of understeer there for a change.
Definitely not helping out there, as he lost out a little bit of time, trying to get a little bit quicker. We did see one person unfortunately disappearing off the screen. I think a bit of a disconnect there for one of our drivers, but 20 drivers going to be entering and having a bit of fun with us this evening. Other drivers unfortunately weren't able to make it due to circumstances. I think everyone knows at this point. I'm not going to humdrum and carry on about it.
You think it's too dark to race?
Sometimes you got to turn the headlights on, eh? But it is going to be an absolute blast, and we can't wait to see how it's all going to happen. And so far, if we go through who's where, Christian Deploy holding that first place, Cody Sherritt in a second place, Morgan McCall, as we just saw, in third place, trying to catch his teammate. Kieran Patterson trying to pull out all the stops. He's currently lying in fourth place, chasing after his teammates. So we've got currently teammates going after one another. So it's good to see that. Vega Krobler in fifth place. Sixth place is Daniel Rowe, Jason McGregor, Ryan Ottens, Bernard Barkhuizen. Sujin Pillay is in the top 10 at the moment, trying to get himself back on circuit. Connor Alexander. We've got Nicholas Manuel in 12th. 13th is Tristan de Norbrigger. He's getting chased down by Ethan Lacuno, who has really been on a hot charge at the moment. Tini Nkube, Kurt Glashkin, Eric Kirstein, Ruin van der Westhuizen, Grant Sebastian, who is actually racing in VR. I just want to chuck that one out there. He's currently in VR. We're having a bit of fun, and it's going to be a long time and get a little bit warm underneath that VR headset. And he's getting chased down by this man who's currently in 20th. That is Dean Cabasso, who has not put out a time as yet.
Now, Steve, at this stage, as we're sitting with 30 seconds left of qualifying, I'm starting to wonder, do you think I can ask our fellow production crew member Christian Deploy for a couple of pointers regarding driving on ACC, seeing that he's currently sitting in pole position?
Can't give away all the secrets, and that's what these pro guys are all about. You go and try and have a chat to them. I tried doing a little bit of digging, finding out what's going on, and a lot of the teams, a lot of the drivers not willing to share too much like in real racing as well. You don't want to go and give out all your trade secrets. So as we see Kieran Patterson coming across the line, Morgan McCall is coming across the line to cement his position. Vega Krobler has also come across the line. So at the moment, Christian Deploy, and he is trying to improve his lap time, still holding first place. Cody Sherritt unable to better his last lap time. He's going to be starting in second. Morgan McCall in third. Kieran Patterson in fourth at the moment. Vega Krobler, Daniel Rowe, Jason McGregor, Ryan Ottens, Bernard Barkhuizen currently 0.3 of a second up on his lap time. Can he hold it all together to try and move out of this 9th place? One corner to go, back on the throttle. Gotta send it as hard as you can. 0.2, 0.3. Is it gonna be enough? Yes, it jumps him into 4th place. So how's that for a bit of a jump. Kieran Patterson down into 5th, Bagel Krobler in 6th, 7th place Daniel Rowe, Jason McGregor 8th place, Ryan Ottens, followed by Sujin Pillay into our top 10, as we're going to be moving on to our race right after a couple of words. We are back, ladies and gentlemen, getting ready for the race, lined up on the grid. It's not long. They've literally got one corner before they stand on the throttle heading into turn 1. Gonna be an exciting time. And gentlemen, I gotta say, I'm pretty nervous. Misano is one of these tracks that you can either get it right on the start or you can have a difficult time. 1 hour and 20 minutes means you have to play it safe and try and figure out your strategy. You don't want to hurt it too early in the race. And, well, don't know about you, my hands are sweating at this point, waiting, anticipating all the action as the fastest of the fast, the cream of the crop of South Africa duke it out for the Grid Championship Series. And as we saw, that prize pool of 10,000 Rand.
Absolutely, Steve. This first sector is very tight. Turn 1, not very hard braking, but then turn 2, you need to get on the anchors a bit more, leading out to that sweeping right-hander of turn 3, and then the hard braking for that double right-hander. As you said, these guys have got one corner to go, so there's not really time to warm brakes, warm tires. They just need to lick it and send it. With the race about to get going, I'm gonna hand things over to you.
Well, as we lined up waiting to go, and they make their first move off the grid. Bernard Barkhuizen starting in 4th place, trying to get right up to the back of the likes of Cody Sherritt. Morgan McCall lined up right next to him, and let's see how it's all going to go. Waiting for the lights. Lights on, lights off, and away we go, and it's off to a cracker of a start. Heading into turn 1, Bernard Barkhuizen not getting the start that he wanted, and as you can see, everyone piling into the corner. And at the moment, Morgan McCall looking to do battle, getting very close to the likes of Cody Sherritt, forcing him on the outside. Cody trying to get a little bit more of a run. Looks like Bago Krobler landing up and losing a bit of time there. Daniel Rowe going a little bit more, and Kieran Patterson actually overshooting the corner, unfortunately. And Daniel Rowe just catching a little bit of a slide as he comes through. A couple of the drivers just battling with those cold tires at the moment. Cody Sherritt all over the back of the likes of Morgan McCall. Bernard Barkhuizen hoping to also get involved in the fight. He goes up, a little bit of contact between the two as they go out a little bit wide. Daniel Rowe having to just try and keep it all together. Daniel actually managing to just go around the outside. Can he make a stick? Still rubbing his racing at the moment as they make their way through. Flat out now, and it's all about the charge. And line astern at this point, but ATK currently at the front, looking to try and pull away from the rest of the field.
I mean, absolutely, ATK 1-2, and Christian Deploy, just pulling out a little bit of a gap over Morgan, and Morgan also seems to be getting away a little bit from Bernard Barkhuizen. So at at this stage, it's clear for takeoff for the two ATK drivers.
Oh, and just taking a look in the background, Kieran Patterson landing up in the dirt and now having to try and make his way back onto the circuit. He's down into 14th place now, lost all the drive and going to be falling down. So some unfortunate contact in the background and that caught him out. He was trying to give a bit of support to this man here, Cody Sherritt, who's down into 6th place. We've seen him doing a little bit of rubbing and racing, but now it's to try and battle his way through. Tristan de Norbrigge of RDSA Spirit Invest. For anyone that doesn't know RDSA, it's race driver in South Africa. It's a development series that has made champions that have represented overseas, and now going to take the battle here in sim racing. Avid sim racer, and really having a bit of fun. Daniel Rowe feeling the pressure though. He's got Jason McGregor and Cody Sherritt all over the back of him. He has to try and look in his mirrors. Jason McGregor is his teammate, but we've seen these two take the fight to one another without a problem, because he's not going to have a good run. Knowing that Cody Sherritt is so close, there is no way to back off or try play a little bit of team strategy. And well, they're two different smaller divisions of the Hybrid Academy, but they are battling it out for the champion, trying to get a little bit forward towards the championship.
Yeah, absolutely. This section, as we see Connor Alexander in the background running a bit wide there. Also see, I think it's Nkubi that also had a bit of an off track further down the field. What I want to say, Stephen, I've been keeping an eye on Kieran Patterson, and it seems like he's definitely struggling a bit with that McLaren. That car does not want to work nicely with him. Don't know if he picked up a little bit of damage. We see there is a couple of scars on that car, but really struggling, and especially struggling to keep the rear end in check at this stage of the race. Don't know if the tires are not what they should be at this stage, or maybe, as I said, battling with a little bit of damage on the car. But he does not seem very happy with it at the moment.
I think he's got a little bit of light damage, as we already get a question from Doom Gray out on YouTube saying, who is your SA GOAT in sim racing?
Me.
Well, I think the only way to describe that, Dune, is if you want to talk about the GOAT in sim racing, I would have to say everyone in this field, because this is our pros duking it out. And much like what we've seen in the real world racing, there's some advantages on certain circuits versus others, so it's very difficult to pinpoint a person that has really taken the top. There's been numerous big names that have come through, made an impact, gone in and represented overseas. The things of like Jordan Sherritt, who's racing for Lamborghini. We've got Alec Ilson, and then we've got our local guys such as Morgan McCall, Bernard Barcase, and Christian Deployed. Daniel Rowe, who is a national champion, also trying to make a bit of a move. And it looks like Colin Alexander and Nicholas Manuel had a bit of a unfortunate contact as they drop way down the order. Connor Alexander just waiting.
Patterson in the pits.
Okay, so Kieran coming into the pits. He's going to get his first stop done, and Connor Alexander as well. He looks like Nicholas Manuel. So everyone's starting to bail into the pits to just try and get themselves sorted, get that first pit stop out the way. Sujin Pillay trying to go on the inside of Cody Sherritt at the moment. Tristan Norbrigge starting to stretch open that gap. Oh, contact between Sujin Pillay and the likes of Cody Sherritt. That has not helped him through the corner, and you want to talk about having a difficult start to the race. That seems to be it at the moment, but you can be sure that Cody and Kieran will come back fighting their way through this grid very quickly.
Absolutely. I just want to, Steve, quickly come back to that question that was asked on, what was it, YouTube?
Yes.
Now, it's a very difficult thing to say, because you purely spoke about ACC, and the guys sometimes forget a little bit, there are other sims out there as well. And not to babble on about it, but if you go over to the other side, like the iRacing side, there's going to be other guys there. Names that come to mind: Luke Lucchese, Troy Dolanchik, Yuri Swartz, all those guys that the ACC guys don't know. So very difficult to say who's the greatest, because the guys compete in different sims and different cars even, so difficult one that.
Well, Nicholas Manuel scoring a stop-go 30 seconds. I think that's for speeding in the pits. And Alan Patterson joining in the comments. Good to see a fellow commentator. Nice to see Alan there. Also going and answering the question as well. He's been keeping a close eye on the sim racing world. So hopefully that goes and answers your question, Dune. Glad to glad that could help, and thanks Alan for the shout out there. Colin Alexander and Nicholas Manuel going and having a good little tussle with one another. A little bit further back, that's 19th and 20th. And another battle to keep an eye on, Rune van der Westhuizen versus Tai Nkube. Mr. Nkube going after van der Westhuizen, keeping in tow. Westhuizen in that Porsche having to battle it out against the mighty BMW that has been shaking it up in the sim world, hoping to get a little bit of old reliable back. We've got the likes of Jason McGregor onto the back of Daniel Rowe, looking to go hunting to try and get past, while our 80k drivers are starting to open up a bit of a gap. Bernard Barkhuizen though closing down that gap very quickly to the likes of Morgan McCall. So keep an eye on this battle. The mighty Aston Martin, the KSR car of Bernard Barkhuizen, looking to try and break that 1-2 position at the moment. We're going to have to keep an eye and see what's going to happen as the race unfolds, because it's only just the start of it. We've got 1 hour and 12 minutes left of the race. We haven't even hit 10 minutes and we've had some incredible action.
I've got a question for you. At this stage, we're very much seeing the front engine cars dominating the race. Christian Deploy, Morgan McCall, Bernard Barkhuizen, the two Mercs, the one Aston Martin. Some would say, it's all of them are Mercs. The Aston just has a different body, but that's not the point. Do you think the mid-engine or rear-engine cars are struggling a bit with that rear-end rotation that they have normally, over this or around this track? That where you need a car with a very stable rear end because you are sometimes, braking while turning in.
Oh, I think that's the bit. Front engine cars are a little bit easier when you run over the curbs, and that seems to be a little bit of a help, especially on a circuit like this. Just seeing another question here, where does a scrub? I wouldn't call yourself a scrub, my friend. I'd say learning to get into the scene. Feel free to either join up with the RaceFace Discord, go into another one that's Monday Night Racing. It's open. There is tons and tons of ACC servers and ACC leagues that you can join to start it off. And I know that Alan might also be able to pass on a little bit of extra info as well. And that's Raven the. Glad to have it. Just taking a look though, Nicholas Manuel still with that stop go 30 seconds, so he's got to be careful. He can only have 3 laps before he gets disqualified, so he has to do that stop go at some point within 3 laps, otherwise he's going to have a difficult time. It's going to hurt, so he's got to be aware of it. Daniel Rowe trying to catch up to the likes of Ryan Ottens. They seem to have broken away. Bego Grobler trying to also close down on them, so the team of the Hybrid Academy hoping to get a little bit closer to one another. One to keep an eye out for, Cody Sherritt coming back and fighting. He's in 14th, going after Dean Kabasa, dives up on the inside, makes it stick, and now up into 13th place. Dean Kabasa not putting up too much of a fight for Cody Sherritt as he tries to claw his way back to the sharp end of the field.
Yeah, and we see Cody there flirting with those track limits, so he is on a push, but be very careful not to overdo it and, score yourself that awesome prize of a drive-through penalty. So just keep that in mind, but it certainly does look like he is on a charge. He wants to, get back in that top 10 and start making his way to the front of the field. But at the front of the field, the two Mercedeses, it looks like Morgan has opened up a little bit of a gap over not Morgan. Christian opened up a little bit of a gap. He's starting to, as we see him also running wide, so the guys are pushing very hard. He's opened up a little bit of a gap over Morgan, but Morgan now has that company of Bernard Barkhuizen only half a second behind.
Oh, so that's it. And just taking a look, Nicholas Manuel is now disqualified. He did not complete that penalty in 3 laps. He ended up getting disqualified. Very easy to forget the penalty. You hear it once, and well, if you're concentrating, you kind of lose out a bit of time.
It also depends on how you set your heads-up display, because mine was normally set up, if I get a penalty, I've got this big red box on the screen that I need to get rid of. But do you think it might have been a case that he forgot about it? and
I
just
think
kept on driving.
I think it's a little bit of tunnel vision that kicked in there, but rather unfortunate, but I know you'll be back ready to battle it out a little bit more. Taking a look, Morgan McCall trying to block out Bernard Barkhuizen, and Bernard in the toe, really trying to force a move. You can see him leaning on that inside, trying to just psych out his competition. Bernard Barkhuizen, the KSR driver, going after the 80k drivers, hoping to really step it up and get into that second place. You want to try and open up a gap in the early stages of the race, otherwise you're going to land up with a whole lot of hurt. So especially with, well, the thing is, you've got your mandatory pit stops. At the moment, Eric Costain is the first of the guys that have done their first pit stop. He's down in 16th place. So at this point, I'm going to ask the question, when do you think will be the ideal time to head into the pits?
That's a kind of a difficult one for me. You know, I'm a fan of, you know, doing the early pit stop and just getting it out of the way and then focus on the race. But if it was me, and I know I've got tires that will hang on and I'm doing good lap times, I will now see how far I can go into this race before making my second pit stop. Remember, there's that rumor going around that there are guys looking to do it without changing tires. They believe the tire deg is not that bad. So we'll have to see. But currently on screen, Morgan McCall battling it out with Bernard Barkhuizen, and that is absolutely working out a treat for Christian Deploy. It's allowing him to, you know, just keep his head down and open up that gap even further. Last time I looked at the gap, it was 1.7 seconds. Now it's up to 2.1 seconds. So he's definitely starting to pull away from this little battle.
Now, as they keep each other busy, a little bit in the background, Jason McGregor trying to close down on them. Ryan Otten's also following suit. Bago Krobler, Daniel Rose, so the Hybrid Academy team going and putting in. And we got Tristan de Norbrigger in 8th place trying to chase that whole battle. Sujin Pillay in 9th. Ethan Lacuna down in 10th place. But the person that's got to be keeping a big eye on his rearview mirrors is this man over here, Colin Alexander, because if you see him come through, and if we jump to our helicam, our eyes in the sky, as he makes his way through, you're going to see just in shot, here come our leaders starting to close down the gap on our first back marker, and this might change it up for the likes of Christian Deploy, who has to try and figure out how to get past as quick as possible without getting held up. This man over here, Morgan McCall, is going to have to deal with it while having Bernard Barkhuizen, who has the ability to go and block him, box him in. Grant Sebastian, though, getting a drive-through penalty.
He's scoring the first one of the night. So we've made that prediction. We saw a couple of them last night. Grant Sebastian scoring the first one for the evening.
So it's going to be a close one. Taking a look, Bernard Barkhuizen trying to go on the brakes and try and outbrake that mighty Mercedes that is really dominating. And if we talk about the two cars, it is going to be a monster to deal with, because you've got a 2019 Aston Martin, good BOP setup on it, I won't lie, to keep very consistent, and a 2020 Mercedes that has really been gone and had a bit of fun. So we are seeing a little bit of an interesting thing done by the sim, where a 2019 chassis can duke it out with a 2020, a newer chassis, but still has a bit of its own quirks. It seems to be sorted out at the moment, and a little bit more dialed in. Trying to look for that inside line, decides he's a little bit too far back to let it go. A little bit further back though, Cody Sherritt in 13th, going after 12th. He's going after the Porsche. Van der Veste is just ahead as they get on the power. You can see Cody really getting into the toe, trying to pull himself along. And let's see if he will be able to get by through turn 1. Is he going to make a move? Nope, too far back to go for any form of attack at the moment. Hoping to just try and keep it. Maybe for the double right-hander, try and push him on, push the likes of Van der Veste on to the inside line. Can't do that, but gonna try go underneath him. Couldn't do it just as yet. That McLaren just not working out in his favor. But I think Van der Veste has got a definite problem at the moment. 0.3 of a second in chase, and take a look. Cody looking for that inside line. Can he brake a little bit harder? Van der Veste not putting up too much of a fight. little bit further up ahead, Kurt Gloshkin onto the back of Ethan Lacuna as they make their way around the circuit, really hoping to duke it out and try and pull away from Cody Sherritt. As we jump back to the top, Morgan McCall, Bernard Barkhuizen still slugging it out amongst each other, hoping to get a little bit more of a drive at the moment.
Yeah, and I see Grant Sebastian still has that drive through, so he'll have to be also careful, to serve that penalty before his time runs out. But these two on screen, Morgan McCall, Bernard Barkhuizen, they are absolutely keeping each other busy. And as I said before, allowing Christian Deploy to open up that gap, now grown to 2.3 seconds. I think Christian is absolutely smiling in that car. He's got a clear track in front of him. And, well, not really a clear track. He's needing to deal with the back markers a bit. But, I think at this stage, really looking good for Christian Deploy. Yes, I know it's still a very long race to go. Still an hour and 2 minutes to go, but so far trouble-free for him.
Well, take a look, Grant Sebastian now into the pits, so he is going to be serving that drive through. The only problem is, this is pretty much like doing 3 pit stops in a race. That's not going to help him too much in his fight to try and claw his way through. Oh, bit of contact between the likes of Bernard Barkhuizen and Morgan McCall. Both survived it, but a little bit of a scuff starting to build up amongst these two. Frustration possibly starting to kick in as Morgan is holding that inside line. He's making that Merc as wide as possible. Bernard Barkhuizen trying his luck to try and get past, but unfortunately just narrowly missing it out as they make their way around the circuit. A battle for 10th place though is still Ethan Lacuna and Kurt Gloshkin. They are really on a hot charge against one another. Looks like Ethan's still maintaining a bit of a gap. As I say that, he gets a little bit shaky and allows Kurt Gloshkin to try go for that inside line. Couldn't make it stick. But person that's currently fastest on the track, Ryan Ottens, with a 133.8 was his fastest lap. 133.4 was his fastest lap time, which is actually quicker than everyone in the field. So keep an eye on him. He's going to be on a almighty charge. Bernard Barkhuizen tried going underneath Morgan McCall, couldn't make it stick. He's going to try it again. Nah, had to drop a little bit back and get it back into the toe. It is turning into a monstrous battle between them as they fight their way through. You can see trying to bait each other into a move, and it's always the build up. And I know that a couple of sim racers in the chats going and keeping an eye on this and understanding the frustration that must be starting to build up amongst all the drivers of what do I need to do to make my way past, make my way to the top and try and open up as they get closer and closer to Connor Alexander in that mighty McLaren, who's in 19th position at the moment, keeping an eye on his mirrors because this man over here, Christian Deploy, trying to go after him.
Yeah, and in the background there we see McGregor and Ryan Ottens, very quickly closing up to him. He's also, I see that gap varies from half a second to 0.8 of a second between the two of them. So as you said, Ryan Otten's on an absolute charge, and I think he's trying to make his way up to field, get past McGregor, and start closing up on this little battle we got going here.
Yeah, and I also got to keep an eye on Cody Sherritt. He's currently in 12th, going after 11th place, so he's been moving and shaking on his way through the race at the moment. We'll take a look at the positions gained. Morgan McCall up 1 position, Bernard Barkhuizen up 1 position since the start of the race. Jason McGregor up 4 positions since the start of the race. Ryan Otten's up 4 positions. Beggar Krobler and Daniel Rowe, they're maintaining the same positions they started. We've got Tristan de Norberger up 3 positions. Cody Sherritt down 10 positions. Kieran Pazin down 12 positions. So if we talk about movers and shakers, at the moment, Dean Kabasa up 6 positions currently from his start of the race.
Yeah, and also a couple of guys that have lost out quite badly, as you said there. I mean, the likes of Cody Sherritt and lost 10 positions, and Kieran Patterson. Those are 2 teammates. So currently for them, things are not going the way it should be going.
Well, I think it's now going to be down to strategy, and I wonder if we're going to be able to get a little bit of insight of what can be done, what's going through the head of these drivers to figure out what do they need to do, where the strategy is going to come in. Ryan Otten's getting past Jason McGregor. We just went and saw that, missed that one. And take a look at Ryan Otten's already up into 4th place, opening up a gap to Jason McGregor's Honda NSX, who's trying to chase him down, but just doesn't seem to have the legs compared to the mighty Aston Martin. Beggar Krubler trying to close down on him. He's getting chased down by Daniel Rowe. Tristan de Norbrigge also with that BMW, keeping within arm's distance of Daniel Rowe, 2.0 seconds at the moment, hanging on to the coattails, but still has an opportunity to go for that 7th place. He's going to have to work a little bit hard though, knowing behind him 2.8 seconds is Sujin Pillay, who is really on a bit of a hot charge with that mighty Ferrari. Kurt Gloschken still going after the back of Ethan Lacuna. These two have been slugging it out since the start and hoping to just try and get one up on one another. I think round about the 46 minute mark, we're going to see the guys starting to pull into the pits once again. And where they come out, well, nobody knows. We've seen varying strategies throughout the race of how deep the guys go into the race before they start the pit stops, and then do a quick 1-2 pit stop, get out and get going once again. Wonder how it's all going to turn out, and with the amount of fights that have been going on, is it going to be a tyre changes starting to come into play, considering how much abuse these tyres have been going through?
So you're going to call it at 46 minutes?
I'm going to call it roughly 46 minutes. Because those tires, those fronts are going to be starting to hurt quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 guys might think about, doing that, call it a double stint on the tires and go the whole hour and 20 minutes on one set. But I think the vast majority, especially the mid-rear engine cars, are going to look at doing tires, because at this stage they're hurting a bit, Stephen. The top 4 is all front engine cars. Then we've got a Honda of Jason McGregor in 5th place, and then Bago yet again in the Aston Martin in 6th place, and then Daniel Rowe struggling a bit in 7th place in the Audi. So definitely starting to look like this is a front engined track.
I'll take a look. Kurt Gloschken getting so close to Ethan Lacuna every single time, trying his luck to just close down and get a bit of a move on. Kieran Patterson scoring a drive through. That's going to be track limits, unfortunately, and going to have to change up the strategy. He's already done 1 pit stop. He's now got a drive through, so essentially he's going to have to do 3 pit stops in this race. We have seen it where guys are scoring these drive-throughs, and it's going to land up a little bit more. I do expect more drivers to get running into these type of issues.
Yeah, especially the ones that are pushing very hard. I mean, Kieran was trying to get work his way up the field, but that all that hard work has been undone by the scoring the drive-through. And as I said, his teammates sitting in 12th position, so currently they have a battle on their hands, and it's definitely a fight back battle. It's not a battle for the top positions at this stage.
Well, Daniel Rowe coming into the pits and getting his first pit stop out the way, and as he waits for the field to come by, this is always the worst sound as you hear your competition battle. Ethan Lacuna and Kurt Gloschken still raging on. Porsche versus Audi, and take a look who's closing them down. Cody Sherritt hoping to try and make a little bit more of a move. He's up into 11th position. Kurt Gloschken is in 10th. 9th is Ethan Lacuna at the moment, so it is turning into a bit of a rough race. The guys hoping to get a little bit more of a drive. Daniel Rowe finally coming out of the pits, but that has definitely hurt his positions at the moment. He's going to have to try and power his way back through the field, hoping to try and close down on the front pack.
Yeah, especially this pit exit is horrible. It's almost the distance from Pretoria to Joburg before you can actually get off that pit limiter and start racing again. It's just agonizing going down there and listening to all the cars rushing past, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it.
And take a look, Kieran Patterson, he's also dived into the pits doing his drive-through, and there's the pit exit, and it comes out just after turn 2. We saw our leaders getting past Connor Alexander, and now Kieran back on the charge down in 18th position, and has got the likes of Ryan Ottens chasing him down. Ryan Otten's going to be showing the blue flag to Kieran. He's got Jason McGregor chasing him down as well. So Jason McGregor's going to try and capitalize on this, getting a little bit sideways. That VTEC kicking in just at the wrong time, unfortunately, but hoping that he can close down on Ryan Ottens and go for the pass, as Bernard Barkhuizen also trying to make his way through, getting past Connor Alexander as quick as possible.
Yeah, and Morgan McCall has opened up a bit of a gap over Barkhuizen now. So Morgan has set his sights on his teammate Christian de Ploy. Closed the gap down a little bit, not by much, but I think Bernard Barkhuizen also struggled to get past Connor Alexander, because he caught him up at a bit of a wrong part of the track, so he got held up, a bit there waiting to get past Connor.
Ryan Otten struggling to get a little bit more pace to get past Cody. Cody is in a bit of a race of his own. He's chasing after Connor Alexander, 4th position, who's just ahead of him. So, for the likes of Ottens to get by, he's going to have to try and get a little bit more pace and get past. So this is always a difficult situation where you've got drivers looking to chase after their positions and really put in some extra effort. And here comes Kurt Glaschke and Ethan Lacuna, still very close to one another. It looks like Kurt getting a little bit of a tank slapper. He's able to catch it, but loses that fraction of momentum down the straight. Tries for the inside line, had to back out of it though, catching the sausage curbs. And Ethan just maintaining his position a little bit further back though for 14th and 15th. Grant Sebastian onto the back of Eric Kirstein, hoping to make a move. Cody Sherritt into the pits. So he's getting his first pit stop out of the way as well. At 51 minutes, so I'm a little bit off there. The guy's going for a much earlier stop, hoping that that's going to make a bit of a difference in their strategies.
I mean, absolutely. We still, speculating who will do tires and who will go without the tires, but the guys are pitting a bit earlier also than I expected. I don't know what they're going to do this second stint. Steve, do you think they're going to push long, deep into the race? Or some of them, we've seen it before, where they do those 2 pit stops, in very close to each other, just go out for a small little splash and dash, and then come back into the pits 10 or so minutes later to do your final stop.
Well, taking a look, Craig Sherritt's still in the pits at the moment. He's exiting it now. Daniel Rowe was actually in the pits of 36.1 seconds, so that tells me he possibly had a tyre change there. And I wouldn't be surprised to see if Cody Sherritt, 44.1 seconds in the pits, so that tells me he has gone and done a tyre change as well. So just staying that little bit longer, I think they're going to go for a much deeper run, get some fresh rubber, get those tanks fueled up, and go run it right close to when the pit window closes and get back battling towards the front. Might be the right option to do that. Get some fresh tackies on the car and go up for a bit of a chase.
Yeah, and your second stop just being a quick splash and dash to get the fuel to reach the end of the race.
Well, that's the thing to keep an eye out for. And well, if you want to talk about how much that pit lane affects you, Eric Kirstein was actually stopped in the box for 9 seconds, but it took him from pit entry to pit exit, including stop, it took him 42.9 seconds to get out of the pits and get back into the race. So from getting into the pits, stopping and getting out, 42.9 seconds. So you have to open up a significant gap to make it happen. Unfortunately, this gap of 2.8 seconds between Christian de Ploy and Morgan McCall, they're going to be having a chat to one another. There's only 3.1. Bernard Barkhuizen, there's only 2.3. So a little bit further. You've got to try and stretch that gap. You see Connor Alexander now having to get by. He's still getting chased down by the likes of Kieran Patterson, Ryan Ottens. That was Jason McGregor going and catching the wall. I think the tail came out underneath him just a little bit too much, and it forced him into a little bit of a mistake. Sujin Pillay over going after Tristan de Norbrigge as fast as possible, and it's going to be a monstrous fight. Seeing some of the comments, Robert Redworth going and saying, didn't see the start, looks like a clean race. Well, it has been. So guys have been off the start, wasn't too rough. We saw a couple of elbow out racing, a little bit of paint swapping, you know, just sharing a bit of red with black, with blue, with every other color underneath the sun. So I do think the guys did go a little bit elbow out. We have seen some penalties incurring from the beginning of the race, with unfortunately a disqualification for Nicholas Manuel, who did not do his stop-go 30 seconds. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that one. And Daniel Rowe, mover and shaker at the moment, getting past Tien Nkube. Daniel Rowe is down into 15th position after his pit stop, and Nkube trying to chase him down, just not getting as much pace. Eric Costain getting by, Grant Sebastian. So Ethan Lacunas in the pits, now trying to come out. Oh, Sherbert, we shouldn't be, no filming is permitted in the pits. Did you just see that? I do apologize, Misano. We'll read the signs clearer next time.
But, you know, looking at Sujin Pillay here, he's also been struggling a bit with that Ferrari. We've seen once or twice that rear end stepping out a little bit, losing drive, running a bit wide, as we see running wide there. So I'm starting to think these mid and rear engine cars are struggling a bit around this track.
I think so too. The guys are having to hammer it like no tomorrow at this point to just try and get a little bit more pace, and the car's just not being as settled. They're very snappy, and conditions just not playing into their hands at the moment compared to the front engines. But that being said, the front engines over time start wearing out those front tires pretty hard, because all the weight is towards the nose. So the BMs, the Mercs, the Aston Martins all have to bear in mind that come later in the race, and if they haven't changed tires, it's gonna get very understeery or very slidey.
Yeah, absolutely. But at this stage, you know, Tristan is keeping in front of Surgeon, and that BMW is just looking a bit more planted for me than the Ferrari. We do see Surgeon closing up under braking there as they head down onto this back straight, but I don't know. Let's see under braking through these next couple of corners. I want to see what the Ferrari does on that rear end of him. As they approach here, this is going to be the crucial part. Nope, Ferrari actually looks quite stable there as they run through here. Having a look on the inside, Sujin Pillay came from nowhere there and loses the rear end, and that's going to allow Tristan to drive right around him again.
Oh, and the frustration that must be kicking in after making such a beautiful move, and unfortunately the car just not playing with you at this point. Seems to be back in the tow though, really trying to pull himself along. 0.2 of a second, you can't even fit a Mini Cooper in between them as they head into turn 1. Tristan just managing to keep it up. The RDSA driver getting a little bit tail happy in that Spirit Invest. RDSA, BMW, Sujin trying to close down on him as they make their way around the circuit, really pushing incredibly hard. Cody Sherritt and Kieran Patterson have joined up. Cody Sherritt in 18th place, Kieran Patterson in 19th position at the moment. And we have had a change for position. Dean Kabasa and Ryan van der Westhuizen actually pulling into the pits. So van der Westhuizen now stopping and going to be hearing the likes of Eric Costain, Grant Sebastian, Daniel Rowe, Nkube, Lacuna, Connor Alexander, Cody Sherritt and Kieran Patterson starting to get closer and closer and possibly go and take that position away from him.
Yeah, as you see, Cody and Kieran are running together there on the track and closing up quite rapidly on Connor Alexander. So we might see a bit of a team up here, teaming up Cody and Kieran teaming up against Connor Alexander, and I think that might be a little bit of an interesting battle.
That's going to be one to keep an eye out for. Definitely Cody right onto the back of Connor Alexander, hoping to try and go for a bit of a pass. And Van der Westhuizen, who was still in the pits, so both the likes of Kieran, Cody and Connor Alexander now got past Van der Westhuizen down into 19th position. But it does look like Cody is on a monster of a charge to try and get around him. Looks to go on the outside, carry the pace. Connor is not backing down though, and is really going to try and stick the fight. So Cody's going to have to try and pull out everything he can. He's got the likes of Kieran right behind him, just keeping an eye out, hanging on to the coattails at this point, but hoping to just really get a move on. And with Cody being so high up in the championship, he needs to try and dial the car in for these last remaining 43 minutes left of the race.
I mean, absolutely. There's, I would say, only 3 chances left to score points, tonight being one of them. You know, he's up in the championship, and so far this race has been hurting him. So we're halfway basically. It's now a question of forget the first half and focus on the remainder of the race. 1 pit stop left to make. See what would be the best time when you can make it, and see how far you can get up the field to score as much points as possible. But at this stage, Cody is sitting behind Connor Alexander and Steven not really making an impression on him, and that's allowing Kieran Patterson to close up behind him. We see Kieran there in the background. It's the black McLaren of Cody Sherritt and the red McLaren of Kieran Patterson closing up on the blue McLaren of Connor Alexander.
It's a McLaren all field. I'm sure the likes of Lando Norris would be very happy to see this. And Cody diving up on the inside, trying to undercut. Managed to make it sick. Connor going out wide. Kieran now close enough to try go for the battle. Connor Alexander getting a bit sideways. Now Kieran going past. And unfortunately, the drive has been killed. Connor Alexander is trying to stretch his legs a little bit. Kieran trying to go around the outside. And it looks like Kieran just managing to get past him. Connor going and showing he's got the car set up for a little bit more straight line pace as they make their way around the circuit. Does look like Jason McGregor though starting to close down on their little battle and is going to be trying to make his way through. Remember now Jason McGregor is up in 5th place, so the blue flags are going to be waving for these drivers, but it's not going to be too easy to get by considering how close the battles are. And you've got to also think about your race while trying to keep it all together and allow other guys to make their way through. It's a difficult situation, and everyone has just got to play nice with one another.
Especially on a track like Misano, which sometimes can be difficult to pass at some sections of the track. So at this stage, you know, we see...
Bit of contact getting into the pits there. Connor slowing down a little bit quicker than Jason McGregor expected, and that allowed a bit more contact to come into play. And just taking a look, Bago Krobler jumping up into 4th place. It looks like Ryan Otten's diving into the pits as well, just ahead of Jason McGregor. And we saw Connor getting into the pits as well. So guys are really stepping it up. And it looks like Alvida's coming by, Christian Deploy going and getting past, and they allowed these two to catch up, Kurt Gloschken and Tristan de Norbrigge. Tristan going on the inside, holding a very defensive inside line. Looks like Kurt trying to go on the inside of him after Tristan runs out a little bit wide. Kurt really trying to step it up, going around the outside. Can he make it stick though? As we just heard from our Tim, he is our race chief, actually goes and talks to all the guys, saying that we're halfway through. Good hard work, Tim. Glad to have you around. Going and letting the guys know that it's halfway through of this 1 hour and 20-minute race, and it's all on the line. Time to step it up, boys. Dial it in and really focus on the hard charge all the way down to the line for the Grid Championship Series, brought to you by Mettlestate and RaceFace.
Just want to ask you, so this Tim guy, is he like the Michael Massey of ACC?
Well, no, some people is hoping it's not.
But as we have a look, you know, at this little battle here on screen, these two guys they're not letting off. I mean, Klaas Hagen on the back of Tristan de Norbrigge. We've seen that Porsche, you know, within millimeters of that BMW, and in the background, as we saw Sujin Pillay getting out of the pits. He's currently in 13th place, so he is just behind this little battle. I think Surgeon is also want to get a part of what's going on in front of him.
Well, take a look. Bernard Barkhuizen coming by, and the guys in the pits, Christian Deploy, Bego Krobler, Morgan McCall in the pits as they getting themselves sorted out. Ryan Ottens is going to try and close down on him. I think he's going to be just too far out of reach before these guys get going. It looks like Morgan McCall's going, Christian Deploy is going, and Barkhuizen hoping to stretch his legs a little bit more. Keep an eye though, Ryan Ottens just making his way through, and I don't think he's going to be able to catch him. He might get past the likes of Bego. Nah, Bego just getting out. But once again, we have got Eric Kirstein landing up with a stop-go 30-second penalty, and that is for speeding in the pit lane. Very easy to do. Hook second gear when you're heading out the pits, and that is going to be a world of hurt. Considering he's completed all his pit stops, he's going to have to stop once again for 30 seconds. If he doesn't complete that within 3 laps, he'll land up with a disqualification. We saw that happen earlier in the race, so the guys are going to be very mindful of this.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You said it's doing an extra pit stop there. So at this stage, you know, that's going to leave you well out of the race. You know, having to pit 3 times compared to the other guys twice. But strangely enough, Stephen, we thought it was going to be track limits that's going to cause the issue tonight. But so far, a couple of guys that have sped in the pit lane, and you know, we've actually had one disqualification from not serving your penalty in time. As we have a look at Nkube, you know, he's battling it out with what's it, Grant Sebastian in front of him. No,
that is actually Nkube and Jason McGregor are slugging it out with one another. And
my timing screen took a little bit of time to catch up.
It's perfectly fine, but it's turning into...
I'm slow, okay?
Christian Deploy diving back into first place. Bernard Barkhuizen in the pits, coming out of the pits now. He was in there for quite some time. Morgan McCall getting by. Is Ryan Ottens going to be a threat to him? Possibly, yes. No, Bernard just exiting in time to hold that 4th place. Grant Sebastian actually coming into the pits. So, let's take a look. Bernard Barkhuizen was stopped in the box for 32 seconds. Morgan McCall, 33 seconds. Christian Deploy, 32 seconds. Ryan Ottens, 33 seconds. So that is leaning on tyres at the moment. Kurt Glashkin going after the back of Tristan de Norbrigge. So guys are opting to put tyres on by the looks of it, and also just filling it up with fuel.
Yeah, I think we were given some false information about guys not putting on tyres and looking at going all the way. I think they misjudged it a little bit in the tyre wear department. Obviously in the race, tyre wear not the same when you're out on track doing your own laps. So change of plans there seems like for some of the guys.
It's going to be a big change up there. I see we got the likes of Sebastian and Kieran Patterson. They both in the pits. Kieran Patterson actually just finishing all his pit stops. So taking a look though, Christian Deploy up in first place, 1 stop to go. Morgan McCall in 2nd place. Bernard Barkhuizen in 3rd. Ryan Ottens, Daniel Rowe in 5th place. 6th place is Bego Krobler. Jason McGregor in 7th. 8th place is Nkube. 9th place is Ethan Lacuna. Tristan de Norbrigge in 10th place, getting chased down by this man over here in the Porsche, Kurt Glashkin. We've got Sujin Pillay in 12th, followed by Cody Sherritt, Rowan van der Westhuizen, Dean Kabasa, Grant Sebastian up into 16th place. 17th place is Kieran Patterson, Connor Alexander, Eric Kirstein in 19th. And that is our field that is going around the circuit at the moment, hoping to slug it out for the remaining 34 minutes. 34 minutes and 20 seconds, I'm going to put it that way, of round number 6 of the Grid Championship Series. Trying to maximize the points for the goal at the end of being in that prize pool of 10,000 Rand. Man, as I keep saying, that is going to be a Christmas bonus of note.
Yeah, you know, I think I should have left the commentating and rather do the driving. But having said that, I don't think I would have come close to the front anyway.
This is definitely some top tier driving. But something I do want to point out though, guys that have completed all their pit stops, Kieran Patterson down in 17th, Connor Alexander and Eric Costain are the only ones that have completed all their pit stops. Everyone else ahead of them with 33 minutes to go still have one stop. Do you think this has actually come into the play for the likes of Kieran Patterson, Connor Alexander and Eric Costain, as we see Kieran Patterson going after the back of Grant Sebastian, who is using VR and is going to be looking around the whole cockpit trying to see which mirror that Kieran is coming at him in, and trying to use that center TV of a screen, and seeing this McLaren dive up on the inside of him. Kieran going in just underneath him, forcing the likes of Grant Sebastian to come off that throttle. Ooh, and taking a look at this man here, Kurt Gloshkin, who has been in an almighty battle. Seems like he abused the track limits a little bit too hard. Has now got a drive-through penalty, especially with the race this far in. Definitely not coming into play.
I mean, absolutely. That basically spoils his whole battle with Tristan, because in the next 3 laps he will have to come in and serve that drive-through, and Surgeon Pillay is just sitting there in the background, and I'm pretty sure he's got a smile on his face, because that's basically a free position as we see him run wide. That's basically a free position he's gaining, and he can set his sight on Tristan de Norbriga, because Surgeon Pillay has been closing up on this little battle since he came out of the pits behind them.
And Surgeon Pillay going and showing off Fiat. For anyone that doesn't quite know, Fiat actually owns Ferrari. So next time you see a Fiat Uno going by, guess what? That might be a Ferrari #1 going and taking the battle. Tristan de Norbriga losing out of pit. And it looks like Tristan having a difficult time now, starting to feel the pressure. Sees that Kurt Gloshkin is getting by, tries to go up on the inside of him. Still wheel-to-wheel action between the two of them. Tristan knowing that there's a drive-through penalty, but is not going to back down. Surgeon now looking to get into a fight. Take a look, gentlemen. Headlights starting to glow on the tarmac. That tells me it's getting a little bit darker out there.
Well, it is 10 to 9 in the evening there, as we see Klassachen jumping into the pits to serve his drive-through penalty. That has released Surgeon Pillay to go after Tristan de Norbriga, and now Tristan will have to deal with a Ferrari. He's changing up from battling with a Porsche now to battling with a Ferrari. Again, we see mid-engine against front-engine car here, and those front-engine cars, Stephen, I'm going to say it again, so far they have been looking, as the dominant vehicle around here. That, we see that rear rotation of the Ferrari, but can he keep that rear end in check? Beautiful exit there as he closes up on that BMW. Is he going to have a look on the outside? Tristan is covering up that inside line, and that's the right way to do it. Covering up the inside line, and he stays in front, and Surgeon will just have to follow him around.
And as we saw, some getting a bit close, trying to go a bit deep into the corners once again, braking very late to just try and do everything he can to get back onto the power. A little bit further up ahead though, Bego Krobler and Daniel Rowe going and slugging out between each other, and it looks like the 2 Hybrid Academy drivers doing everything they can. But I just want to point out Bernard Barkhuizen getting the fastest lap, 1:33.3, so getting close to those qualifying times, and we saw the 32s being the quickest. And for qualifying, the guys are starting to get closer and closer to one another in this battle. And now the car's getting a little bit more lighter, conditions starting to cool down a bit more, engine starting to produce a little bit more power under the cooler conditions, but it's also getting a bit darker there, and brake markers gonna start to move as the tire wear starts to kick in a little bit more.
Yeah, and not just that, as you start losing light, some of those brake markers will start disappearing, because a lot of people think you only use these marker boards showing you how far the corner is away, but sometimes it's looking at a little piece of grass. You're watching out for that little piece of grass on the side of the road, because that's your brake marker. Now you're starting to lose light, that little piece of grass might disappear on you.
Now we see Tristan once again holding that inside line, trying to hold Surgeon Pillay at back, and I mean, this is our closest battle on circuit. The other closest battle is Daniel Rowe and Bego Krobler, but they are opening out close to a second at this point. So these two are slugging it out, but I just want to point out 14th place, Ethan Lacuna has completed all his pit stops. Christian De Ploy actually putting in the fastest lap, just as I say that, 133.30. So Ethan, currently first of the crowd that has completed all their pit stops, hoping for that to be the impact maker with only 28 minutes and 27 seconds left of this race. It is still everything to play for. Bago Krobler and Daniel Rowe going close to one another. Looks like Daniel Rowe getting past Bago. And the guys having to also work around. They've got Connor Alexander, who's looking to get into the fight. And despite being blue flagged, it looks like Connor is not giving up the fight just yet. He wants to properly sink his teeth in and enjoy the pro category. He's also one of the newer drivers, started later in the season, but has been developing his pace throughout the season and looking to take the fight a bit more. So this is why we welcome more drivers to come into sim racing. There is different classes, not only our pro tier that we're seeing right now, there is our pro-am, there is our am tier, there is so much that you can join in and learn, develop, get faster and race with people that is within the skill level of you during that current time, and hone and develop your skills to claw your way to the top.
Yeah, absolutely, Stephen. And just one thing I want to point out, Cody Sherritt in 10th place. He is 2.8 seconds behind this little battle we're seeing here between Sergeant Pella and Tristan de Norbriga. We see Cody there in the background. With Tristan and Sergeant battling it out, that is allowing Cody to close up on them, and it's actually helping Cody out at this stage of the race.
Well, these two busy slugging it out, they're worrying about each other, and just take a look, Ethan Lacuna unfortunately landing up with a drive-through. That's the penalties starting to come into play, and Bago Krobler now into the pits, so he's going to be stopping for his final time, and that's allowing the likes of Tristan de Norbriga, Sujin Pillay, Cody Sherritt to come by and boot past him to claw their way up a ladder. So Bago down into 10th position at the moment. Is he going to have enough to get away from Van der Westhuizen, who is now making his way around? Bago just exiting the pits. Van der Westhuizen's really got to hope that he can get a little bit more pace, but I think Bago has got enough room at this point. As Van der Westhuizen makes his way around, is it going to be enough? And looks like he has managed to get past Bago. Unfortunately, that long pit lane becoming a bit of a pain in the neck.
Yeah, and with that little section you played there with the comparisons between the two cars, that gives you a clear indication how much a car on track travels compared to a car just traveling down the pit lane.
You see, these are the little things that we've got to be aware of, keep an eye out on, and keep an eye on the little moves that go on. Cody Sherritt, though, closing down 1.8 seconds to the back of Sujin Pillay, who's all over the back of Tristan de Norbriga at this point. As I said, this is our closest battle currently on the circuit. Kieran Patterson down in 15th. He's trying to get a little bit closer to his teammate at the moment. Christian De Ploy putting in the fastest lap time. He is maintaining a 7.4 second gap to Morgan McCall. He did mention that this was his circuit that he enjoys, but he wasn't sure if it's going to work out for him. He's had a bit of a rough season, and seems like everything's coming into play. Take a look at Sujin really diving.
That was a late lunge, and now he's going on the inside of Tristan de Norbriga and actually making it past him. Tristan had a little bit of a twitch on the rear end there and losing that drive, and Sujin makes the pass stick, and guess who's joining the party in the background? That black McLaren of Cody Sherritt.
Much like a stealth fighter, has worked his way through. I would have to say he's got Kit underneath him, busy saying, don't worry, we're going to get them. All you need, it really does look like Kit with the red line and the styling. It's definitely come into play, that stealth look starting to get and creep his way through the fight.
Just need the red light on the front spoiler as well.
Just moving across.
Yeah. But in front of him, Tristan de Norbriga and Sergeant Pillay. Now Tristan is right back on that rear wing, looking on the inside through this corner. Oh my word, what a pass there. That's not normally a passing place, Stephen.
Now Tristan really going and sticking in. We just take a quick look at Kieran Patterson, who's now landed up with another drive-through penalty, unfortunately. Those track limits coming into play. Cody Sherritt now all over the back of Sujin Pillay, who lost a bit of drive and is on a bit of a charge. So unfortunately, Kieran scoring a drive-through penalty, and Kirstein also with a drive-through penalty at this point. So their races are definitely hurting, and some championship points are going to... This is going to be a race that's to forget.
Yeah, and you do get races like that. We all have races like that where you reach that point where you just you just want it to be over and done, so that you can switch off the sim and do something else, because the night has just not gone your way. And it's Stephen, I have a saying when I have races like this, I just say, on to the next.
Taking a look, Van der Veste isn't actually into the pits. Something has gone wrong with his car. He actually teleported into the pits. Eric Kirstein is in the pits as well. It does look like Eric Kirstein is might be calling it quits at this point. And Van der Veste also looks like he might be out of the race as well. Gonna have to keep an eye on that, but I think we've got 2 more retirements coming into play. And we'll have to see. Got Kieran Patterson, he's into the pits doing his drive-through. Actually, no, Van der Veste isn't getting up and going, so he's looks like he went in for a pit stop. And Kieran Patterson now getting right behind him, going to be charging after to get a little bit more pace. Ethan Lacuna coming by, Grant Alexander, sorry, that's Connor Alexander as well, going and lunging his way past this entire little battle.
Now, Tristan de Norbriga in front of Sergeant Pillay, he's opened up a little bit of a gap. So he's got a bit of breathing room after making that pass. But I'm pretty sure Sergeant Pillay is not just going to hang back. He's going to try and close that gap right back up as we have a look at Cody Sherritt in the pits now, doing his last pit stop, getting out. Stephen currently still in 9th place, but where is Bego Grobler compared to him on track?
Bego getting by Kurt Glashkin, also getting by Cody, going down a position. So if you see Bego now making his way through turn 3, turn 4, Kurt Glashkin as well, Dean Kabasa making his way past, and Cody Sherritt now just getting out onto the circuit. He's got a bit of a challenge to it. Bego at the moment, first of all the people that have done their pit stops, followed by Cody Sherritt in 12th. So if we talk about query net positions, possibly Bego Grobler's in the running here to make it stick. But if we go through who's where, Christian Ploy up in 1st place, Morgan McCall in 2nd place, 3rd place Bernard Barkhuizen, Ryan Ottens down in 4th place, 5th place is Daniel Rowe, Jason McGregor down in 6th place, Tristan de Norbriga in 7th, 8th place Eugene Pillay, Bego Grobler in 9th, Kurt Glashkin in 10th place, Dean Kabasa, followed by Cody Sherritt, Grant Sebastian, Connor Alexander also coming by, Ethan Lacuna, Rowan van der Vesthuizen, Kieran Patterson, Tini Nkube, and unfortunately still in the pits, Eric Kirstein, who has called it quits by the looks of it.
Yeah, he's been in that pits for some time now, so let's see if he makes his way back on the track. But it's starting to look like he's called it quits for the night. Stephen out in front, Christian de Ploy, 7.6 second lead over Morgan McCall. So he's still sitting pretty. There's just under 20 minutes to go. We still got that battle between Sergeant Pillay and Tristan de Norbriga to sort itself out. Both of them still have one pit stop to make. This race is actually far from over.
Oh, and Bego Grobler going and scoring a drive-through penalty. Oh.
Is that commentator's curse?
That is gonna hurt. And knowing who's chasing him down with the likes of Cody Sherritt, who's done all his pit stops as well, I think we're going to see something there. Jason McGregor all over the back of Daniel Rowe, trying to keep Daniel Rowe as honest as possible and the two Hybrid Academy drivers, one Hybrid Academy Gamma versus Hybrid Academy Invictus. And to just talk about, Daniel Rowe is a race driver in the real world, the IRL. Jason McGregor, a sim racer, IRL, and going and slugging it out and really having a bit of fun. Not too far behind, though, is this battle of Tristan de Norbrigge and Sujin Pillay, trying to have a bit of a closing time on one another. So battles all round the entire field, where the guys are just trying to figure out this last 18 minutes and 20 seconds left of the race. It's all to play for, and Sujin trying to go up on the inside, really utilizing all the curb there. Ooh, got to be super careful not to score a warning or a drive-through by doing things like that. Up into the toe, Tristan going on that inside line, ensuring that there is no pass going to happen as they make their way around. And you can see Sujin really getting tucked up nicely behind Tristan de Norbrigge at the moment. Tristan still holding that inside line, forcing the likes of Sujin Pillay to go on the outside, go towards the marbles, and land up with more and more problems as the race goes on.
Yeah, it's not the first time we see Tristan, covering that inside line. He did it earlier on in the race as well. And he's learned from that mistake, because remember, at that stage he went to the outside for the second corner. But yeah, he kept on that inside line and covered off, Sujin Pillay beautifully. As we have a look now, Jason McGregor, Daniel Rowe going side by side down the pit straight. I'm actually getting past Daniel Rowe before turn one. I don't think Daniel's going to take that lying down.
Not at all. Looks like Daniel Rowe lost a bit of drive somewhere, and that has allowed the likes of Jason McGregor to get by. Tristan de Norbrigge still having to deal with Sujin Pillay right behind him, and getting a bit darker. And if we go into the helmet cam, we can see it's getting a little bit darker, a little bit cloudier. The guys can work a little bit harder. The lights shining off the circuit at the moment. And that's going to tell you that that track is starting to get a little bit cooler as the temperature starts to drop.
Yeah, and in that center screen, Tristan can clearly see a red Ferrari with Fiat written all over the bonnet, following closely again, keeping to the inside but going to the middle of the track. So, Steve, that's a move that you like doing, and it's very difficult to get past the driver in front of you if he starts defending in the middle of the track, because the gap on the inside and on the outside, all of a sudden looks very small.
You forcing the driver to pick a line, but at the same time you are putting yourself in a bit of a compromising position because you're offline. So you can't do it too many times without landing up with a bit of an issue. Taking a look, Daniel Rowe within a second of Jason McGregor, Sujin Pillay also within roughly about a second to Tristan de Norbrigge. So they are keeping close to one another. Rest of the field, though, a little bit more spread out. I mean, first and second place, 8.7 seconds. Bernard Barkhuizen in third place, 2 seconds behind. Sujin Pillay actually getting past Tristan de Norbrigge, who pulls in the pits. So Tristan is in the pits. Sujin Pillay now has open cars to floor it and try and break away. But now he's going to know that Tristan comes out of the pits. He's going to have all his pit stops done and dusted. So it's all about maximizing the gap at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm keeping an eye on how long Tristan is sitting in the pits for. So, that will give you an indication of what he's doing in the pit. So I'm looking for that stop time. He has not stopped yet.
No, he has stopped. He's actually exiting the pits. And lost out 3-4 positions at the moment. And still waiting to get going. Where's Bago? Krobler Bago is just on the straight there. So Tristan
9.7 seconds stationary. That's the time I was looking for.
Splash and dash, and has to properly try and dash it. 5.9 seconds behind Cody Sherritt, who is in 10th place and looking to try and move up in the points. Dean Kabasa just ahead of him. You can see just hanging on with the 2-second gap. And then the likes of Kirk Glashkin just ahead of him, 9.2 seconds difference between the two there, as they look to do a huge amount of battle. The guys really putting in some huge amount of work at the moment to just maintain their positions, opening up the gap, stretching it a little bit more. But it's all on the cards as Bernard Barkhuizen making his way through. It looks like he's just run across Bago Krobler, and now just trying to get by and close down the gap. Back to Morgan McCall, who is currently in second place within earshot, and those lights starting to go and show a little bit more on the circuit as they make their way around Misano for round number 6 of the Grid Championship Series, brought to you by Mettlestate and RaceFace.
Now, Stephen, have a look at the timing screens there. Top 9 still need to do their second stop. Rest of the field have completed all their stops. So Cody Sherritt actually not sitting in a bad position in 10th place. He's done well on his comeback drive. So we saw one of the 80k Mercedes is going into the pits. That's Morgan McCall deciding it's time to do his final stop. So very interesting to see how long he spends in the pits stationary.
Well, he's going to have Jason McGregor coming around and going to try and boot it past him. Jason McGregor trying to go a little bit further. Take a look at Cody Sherritt though, up on the inside of Dean Kabasa, gets past nice and smoothly there. And Daniel Rowe also coming down that main straight. So now Morgan McCall going to be losing out once again, dropping down into 6th place. Jason McGregor and Daniel Rowe getting by. Remember, they've still got one stop as well. So Morgan just coming out of the pits and looking to get going. Where is Cody Sherritt? Because he's also first of the pit stoppers. Well, completed all their stops, and it looks like he is out just ahead of them. No problem. Morgan now putting a bit of spacing. He's got the likes of there's Kieran Patterson. Do apologize. Now onto the back of him. Kieran, who is a lap down, is going to be trying to push as hard as he can to just force the likes of Morgan possibly into a mistake or utilize the toe to get a little bit closer to this man over here, Ruan van der Westhuizen, in the Porsche.
Yeah, it's I think at this stage, it's a bit unfamiliar territory for Kieran. Being a lap down, unfortunately he has not had the best of races. Sitting a lap down behind a guy like Morgan McCall, who you normally race for position. So it's kind of a strange feeling for him. And I think he must use that slipstream of Morgan to pull himself closer to maybe, get 1 or 2 more positions before the end of the race.
I think he's going to do everything he can, knowing the tenacity of the driver. And Morgan, knowing that they've raced against one another numerous times, is going to have full confidence that they're going to have a mutual benefit with one another. As we take a look at the sparks flying as they catch a curb, that was Connor Alexander. And I've got to just point out here, Connor Alexander has been hanging on the back of Daniel Rowe and Jason McGregor for quite some time, despite being a couple of laps, being down in the field. He's really just hung on to the back, learning, developing, and figuring out where he can gain a bit more pace.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's always been one of the great learning scenarios, if you want to call that, sitting behind the quicker guys. And sometimes by just, studying the lines that are following and, trying to stick with them, you do find yourself all of a sudden picking up, that little bit of pace and learning as you go along, learning as you race, so to speak. But, as you see Alexander, that rear end of the McLaren stepping out a bit there, and that would have hurt his drive coming down the long triple right-hander back straight, if you want to call it that.
Well, he's 26.6 seconds behind Bago Krobler, who's in 12th place, coming off the start line now into turn 1. Bago trying to go after Tristan de Norbrigge, who's 10 seconds up ahead. But I see Bernard Barkhuizen making his way around. So Bago trying to utilize the slipstream that Bernard Barkhuizen, who's currently in second, to pull himself along. Christian Deploy, though, is hanging out with going a little bit deeper than his teammate. With 9 minutes and 25 seconds, he's really on a monstrous charge. And Daniel Rowe coming into the pits now. He's going to be doing his final pit stop for the race. Looks like Jason McGregor just ahead of him as well has also come into the pits, and they stopped in the box. That's going to allow the likes of Morgan McCall to get past if the time works out in their favor. And Sujin Pillay as well, looking to try and capitalize on the situation at the moment. It's gonna be very close, as looks like Jason McGregor and Daniel Rowe now heading out the pits. So 6th and 7th just clawing their way through. Where's Kurt Glashkin, who's starting to make his way through. I think Kurt may have just gotten ahead by a fraction, but he is going to have to deal with no, it looks like he actually loses out. Jason McGregor just managing to keep ahead, and has Kurt Glashkin closing down onto the back of him.
So with basically 8 minutes to go, top 3, Christian
Kurt Glashkin actually hooking it sideways and losing out just as we were talking about him. Sorry to jump in there, but we just saw that slide.
Yeah, no worries. What I wanted to say is Christian de Plooy, Ryan Ottens, 8 minutes to go, as we see Barkhuizen in the pits now. And then Surgeon Pillay, Glashagen and Kabas are still needing to complete their final pit stop. So they are pushing it right until the end of that pit window before doing that last stop.
Well, if you think about it, the pit window is open and for another 3 minutes and 40 seconds. So these guys have really got to try and figure out what they're going to do. Taking a look though, Connor Alexander with a drive-through penalty within 7 minutes to go. And unfortunately that has gone and caused a little bit of fault. Morgan McCall though up into 4th position, chasing down, and I think he actually... No, he's ahead of Barkhuizen at this moment. Barkhuizen is behind him. So Morgan McCall into 3rd. He's got Kieran, who's skipping over the what we call the sausage curbs, but here in South Africa we can call them boerewors curbs, I think. With Barkhuizen trying everything he can to close down, but he's got 2 back markers that are currently in the way, and he's going to have to try and figure a way to get past him. And I mean, this is where the frustration starts to kick in, is you need to try and bomb past the guys as quick as possible so you don't lose out the time. Knowing that 3rd place is a little bit ahead, taking a look at Kurt Glashkin, he has pulled into the pits. Looks like he's all sorted and heading out. He's lost out a couple of positions, especially after that little bit of a tank slap he caught. So Christian de Plooy still out and going, and looks like Ryan Ottens into the pits. He's going to go for a short pit stop, you can be sure of that, as they are 1 of 3, and Dean Kabasa along with Sujin Pillay, who are the only ones. Sujin Pillay, as I say that, now coming into the pits. He's going to be getting his pit stop done and dusted. So at the moment, Christian de Plooy hoping to try and stretch his legs. Do you think this was the benefiting move, or do you think this is going to hurt him in the long run?
Well, with only 5 minutes to go, he's sitting 49.2 seconds ahead of Morgan McCall. The longer you stay out, essentially the shorter your pit stop is going to be. And if you look at the guys' total time in pits, they are hovering around the 40, 43, 42 second mark, Steve. So
in the pits, he's in the pits. So now he's got his teammate trying to chase him down. His teammate doesn't seem to be anywhere close to him. Morgan McCall now trying to catch up, but I think Christian has done it. We've seen the likes of Dean Kabasa, he's in the pits, so getting his final pit stop. Morgan McCall, I think, is a little bit too far out at the moment. And if we even take a look at our track map, there's Morgan McCall and our leader now starting to exit the pits. Morgan just too far back to make an impact here, and with over 4 minutes to go, I think we're in for a rough run to the end, but I think it may work in this man's favor, as Christian de Plooy trying to get back on the throttle, and you can be sure that he is shaking like no tomorrow. He wants to get back out and going. Here comes Morgan McCall though. He's going to be closing down on his teammate, but it looks like Christian de Plooy just ahead. He's got about 6 seconds to go and pull away. Bernard Barkhuizen onto the back of Morgan McCall though. He is really pushing hard We're going for that second place. Ryan Ottens 6.5 seconds behind, so Ryan Ottens needs to step up the pace. Dean Kabasa after the back of Ethan Lacuna. Kieran Patterson now onto the back of Ruben van der Westhuizen. And whoa, you want to see a McLaren take a bit of air? That's the way to do it. Tim going and reporting pit window is now closed. Thank you, Tim. Going and informing everyone, including us, that the pit window is closed. Gotta love Tim. Someone's got to give him a raise at some point.
He gets paid?
Oh, you know, hamburgers and a soda.
Is that how it works? So, everybody's pitted. This is now a sprint race of 3 minutes to the end. Stephen, Christian Deploy, 10.1 seconds ahead of Morgan McCall.
Well, with Bernard chasing him down 1.8 seconds.
Yeah.
Closing.
So, I think 10 seconds might be enough with 3 minutes to go, but certainly, 1.8 seconds isn't.
It's going to be a tough one, and it's all about hanging it together. Now, the question starts circulating in one's mind. Did I put enough in the tank to get me across the line? And we've seen it, and people have experienced it, where, it's going to be a how much is left in the tank. Ryan Ottens up into 4th place, 6.6 seconds behind, so he's actually improved. And if we take a look, he's up 5 positions. He's won the movers and shakers. Dean Kabasa currently holds the movers and shakers with up 7 positions since the start.
Oh, Pillay drive-through penalty.
Oh, Sujin Pillay going and having a track limits, and right towards the end he's going to have to get into the box, and that's going to have the likes of Tristan Norberger smiling all the way to the bank. Bago Krobler is also going to come by and see this, and he's going to be absolutely smiling. And then you've got Kirk Glashkin, who also has a drive through that needs to be done, so he's going to have to get that into the box, otherwise suffering a severe penalty in this remaining 1 minute and 50 seconds of this grueling race, round number 6 of the Grid Championship Series, brought to you by Mettlestate and RaceFace. And we cannot forget the newly on board MTN. Yes, you heard us right, MTN coming on board with the sim racing and seeing our pro division slugging it out. The best of the best in South Africa, showing what they can do.
Absolutely, we've seen some awesome racing tonight. Steve, interesting thing. I've been thinking about it. So you score a drive-through penalty at this stage of the race, which there's less than 3 laps to go. Now, the guys, they've done short pit stops, but still ending up with about 40 seconds in the pit lane. So when do you make that position to not do the drive-through and rather take the 30-second penalty?
Yeah, see, it's a difficult one, because it's, you either get punished by the sim or you get punished by the pit lane of the sim. I don't know. It depends on how much spacing you have you got to sacrifice.
Just out of interest sake, Christian Deploy had a 6.1 second stationary stop on his last pit stop, but spent a total time of 43 seconds from start to finish. So without that 6 second stationary, it's still more than 30 seconds.
Yeah.
That's the point I'm trying to make.
Now, it's a bit of a rough one there as Christian making his way through. He's going to have about 1 more lap to go, as we're going to hear Tim go and call final lap, I'm sure.
No,
actually,
he made it just before the line.
So Christian Deploy taking 1st place. Morgan McCall, his teammate, going to be look like he's taking 2nd place, just ahead of Bernard Barkhuizen by 1.8 seconds. Ryan Ottens coming across the line in 4th place. 5th place looks like it's going to be Jason McGregor, if he can keep it all together. He's currently 5.1 seconds ahead of this man over here, Daniel Rowe, his teammate, who is caught in a little bit of a sandwich of Dean Kabasa and the likes of Grant Sebastian and Tony Nkube, who are in their own little battle trying to go for it. And you can see it looks like Grant Sebastian getting ahead, utilizing Daniel Rowe in between the middle of them. 7th place is going to be Cody Sherritt, who has had an absolute comeback of note. Tristan de Norbrugge going to be rounding out in 8th place, followed by Bago Krobler in 9th place. And Sujin Pillay, who is unfortunately... No. I think he ran out of fuel. Sujin Pillay hasn't crossed the line. I think he ran out of fuel on the last lap.
And just behind him, Dean Kabasa.
So Ethan Lacuna taking 11th place, Dean Kabasa, followed by Kieran Patterson, Rowan van Westhuizen, Kurt Glaschken, Connor Alexander, Grant Sebastian, Tini Nkube going and rounding out our field. But Sujin Pillay holding that 10th place, but he ran out of juice. Yeah, that's... Sorry, yeah, 9th place, but he ran out of juice on that final lap. And, well, ladies and gentlemen, Naughty Badge Award goes to goes to Mr. Pillay.
Yeah, at this stage on my timing tables as well, he's shown as red in the pits, but he's still shown as 10th. So we'll have to wait for the official results on that one.
That's it. And, well, ladies and gentlemen, it has been an exciting race. It has been truly a race of note. And the burnouts and donuts.
Oh, the Honda is stuck in the grass.
And Tristan Norbrugge going and doing a bit of donuts. Guys just celebrating round number 6 being done and dusted. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's been an absolute one. Anything in closing from your side, gentlemen?
Stephen, yet again, awesome race. We've seen some close battles. You know, it's truly awesome and actually a privilege watching and commentating on the racing these guys are doing. We've got 2 rounds left, and if I'm not mistaken, next week is the mountain.
That's it. We head out to Bathurst in Australia to take on the mountain. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you hit that subscribe button along with the bell notification icon if you're on YouTube, and if you're on Twitch, make sure you hit the follow and feel free to subscribe. There's lots of things going on the Mettlestate Twitch, not just sim racing. But boys and girls, thank you very much from my side, Stephen Koenig, and once again, thank you for joining me in the box, gentlemen. We'll see you next week, same time, same place, but heading out to a different area. We'll see you in the land down under. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.